It's 1867. A bearded philosopher named Karl Marx sits in the dim light of the British Museum, scribbling the foundational text of Das Kapital. He is writing about a terrifying future where capital accumulates into an idol so powerful it becomes immune to the laws of nature itself. He had no idea he was describing a Pokémon.
Gholdengo, the golden sovereign of SVOU and the single Pokémon that reshaped an entire metagame around itself. Tonight we are going to show you exactly how, through the lens of the man who saw it coming 150 years ago. Welcome to the Weezing Lounge.
To understand Gholdengo, you must first understand where it comes from. Meet Gimmighoul, a small, frightened creature that spends its entire existence hiding in a chest, obsessively holding coins. It cannot evolve, cannot grow, it can only accumulate 999 coins. That is the exact threshold, the precise moment where accumulated capital crystallizes into something else entirely.
Marx called this primitive accumulation, the process by which scattered resources are seized, hoarded, and transformed into the foundation of a new economic power. The moment that threshold is crossed, Gimmighoul, the alienated worker who never benefited from his own labor, fuses into a golden idol immune to the laws of nature.
The Pokédex says Gholdengo is quick to make friends with anybody. Of course it is, capital always has a smile. But the true masterstroke of Gholdengo's design is its ability, good as gold. Complete immunity to status moves, defog, toxic, anchor, they are all irrelevant. Marx brought that under capitalism. The commodity becomes a godlike entity. It appears to follow its own laws, independent of the humans who created it. To Gholdengo, the rules of the game cease to apply.
But here is where it gets oppressive. Ghost and Steel typing, one of the best combinations of the metagame, makes it immune to both Mortal and Rapid Spin. Good as Gold makes it immune to Defog. 3 locks on the same door. The hazards stay. They always stay.
And if the immunities weren't enough, Gholdengo adapts. Choice Scarf for speed control, Choice Specs for raw power, Nasty Plot, offensive or bulky, for setup sweeping and wall breaking, Thunderwave into Hex, for the patient accumulator, Air Balloon to bypass its ground weakness, or the Grassy Seed set with Rillaboom, where Grassy Surge activates the seed, boosting Gholdengo's defense to the point where, combined with Terra, it becomes physically untouchable. A monopoly of the setup, immune to the lock of Taunt and Anchor.
Marx noted that capital's greatest strength is its flexibility, the ability to assume whatever form the market demands, while the fundamental power structures remain unchanged. The phase changes, the monopoly doesn't.
In Das Kapital, Marx argued that whoever controls the means of production controls everything. In SVOU, the means of production are the hazards, stealth rocket spikes, chip every switch. Toxic spikes punish teams that aren't prepared with a poison type, and sticky webs slow every team that relies on speed.
As Marx said, capital is dead labor, which, vampire-like, lives only by sucking living labor. Gholdengo produces nothing. The hazards are set by its teammates, the workers whose labor creates the advantage. Gholdengo simply ensures that advantage can never be taken away.
Marx called this the extraction of surplus value. The capitalist contributes nothing to production, yet positions himself to capture everything it generates.
The hazards are the capital, Defog and Rapid Spin are the tools of redistribution, and Gholdengo renders them worthless. This is privatization in its purest form.
But Game Freak didn't stop there. The pool of Pokémon capable of running Defog was quietly, systematically reduced in Scarlet and Violet. Fewer Defoggers, fewer options. The tools of redistribution dismantled before the workers could even organize. Marx described this as the destruction of the commons, the deliberate enclosure of shared resources to force dependence on the dominant power.
The main way to remove hazards against Gholdengo, you need a spinner capable of threatening it directly. Great task, Iron Threads. Will you click a rapid spin or a ground stab, risking Air Balloon Gholdengo blocking your way? Or will you predict the switch, trying to break it, possibly wasting a turn? The proletariat must confront the capitalist face to face, because collective action is no longer an option, a game in which the final outcome often gets reduced to an early game coin flip.
And if you think the council noticed this in time, well, the warning signs were clearly obvious, but the surprise was entirely self-inflicted. Marx's theory of alienation describes a condition where the worker is structurally prevented from ever benefiting from their own labor. They produce, they suffer, the capital grows, and they remain exactly where they started. In SVOU, this is the condition of every stall team facing Gholdengo.
Stall survives through passivity, status moves, toxic, will-o-wisp, aids, slow, methodical erosion of the opponent's resources. Good as gold makes every single one of these tools irrelevant.
But even when Stall attempts to adapt, it only proves Marx's point. The system forces you to consume your own means of survival, just to stay alive. To check Gholdengo, Stall deploys its final desperate measures: Calm Mind Blissey with Terra Dark, or Terra Dark and Steel Clotheside.
But this is a structural trap. You burn through your Terra just to check Gholdengo, leaving yourself exposed to even scarier threats. Worse, you run suboptimal sets while praying to avoid a crit, or while bleeding out capital in the form of recovery PPs, leaving you bankrupt against the coordinated assaults of special monsters.
Every passive Pokémon that relies on stages to function is the Lumpenproletariat of SVOU, the class Marx described as too fragmented, too passive to ever organize against the dominant power. Gholdengo entered the metagame, establishing its system from day one. Every team-building decision, every defensive archetype, every hazard strategy, built around the assumption that Gholdengo exists and cannot be stopped through conventional means.
But the metagame didn't surrender without a fight. Hatterene, capable of reflecting hazards back with magic bounce. Cinderace, core change, sweeping hazards back to the opponent's side. Spinners, forced to directly threaten Gholdengo to have any chance of clearing the field. Marx described these early acts of resistance as trade unionism, the working class organizing not to dismantle the system, but to extract concessions from it.
They couldn't remove Gholdengo, so they built around it, adapted, compromised. The monopoly remained. The workers learned to live inside it.
But Gholdengo is not content with passive domination. Make It Rain, a spread move that fires coins at both opponents simultaneously. Special attacks so high that even after the self-imposed drop, the damage is devastating.
And if the drop becomes a problem, Nasty Plot, a full 2-stage special attack boost, ready to be deployed the moment the pressure eases. Marx's most famous command for the capitalist was simple: accumulate, accumulate. That is Moses and the prophets. Gholdengo accumulates power, fires it at its enemies, then rebuilds immediately. The cycle never stops.
And this dominance is not limited to singles. In VGC, Make It Rain hits both targets simultaneously. The spread damage, combined with partner support, turns every engagement into a liquidation event. There is no format where Gholdengo does not impose its will. Singles, doubles, ladder, tournament, the monopoly is total.
But Gholdengo's monopoly had allies. Sticky Webs reduced the speed of every grounded opponent switching in, under normal circumstances. Removable, counterable. Under Gholdengo's reign, permanent.
And the ruling class of SVOU understood exactly what this meant. Stack the most devastating offensive threats in the tier, threats already dominant on their own, and hand them a speed advantage that can never be taken away.
Marx described how monopoly capital consolidates. The largest powers in the system stop competing and start cooperating, dividing the market between themselves to ensure collective dominance. Gholdengo locks the hazards. The most powerful offensive threats in the tier exploit that lock to become unreachable.
Two ruling classes, one system, zero freedom.
Marx believed that every system carries within itself the seeds of its own destruction, that no monopoly, however total, can persist without generating the conditions for its own undoing.
Galarian Weezing, Neutralizing us, the ability that nullifies every other ability on the field, including good as gold.
The proletariat finally organizes, not through strength or speed, but through consciousness. The understanding that the rules of the game can be suspended entirely if you bring the right tool.
Marx called this the development of class consciousness, the moment the oppressed class recognizes its condition and acts collectively to dismantle the system. Weezing walks in, and the golden idol loses its shine. The capital had its reign, but every reign ends. Do you think Gholdengo is an healthy presence in the metagame? Or maybe a necessary evil we have become accustomed to? Drop it in the comments and let us know which Pokémon you want us to cover next.
But if you want to see where the metagame is truly headed, check out these videos. The night is young.